From Sci News, Jurassic Pterosaur with unusual tail. Scyphosaura bavarica, a species of pterosaur that lived around 149 million years ago in what is now southern Germany, bridges the gaps between the early monofenestridine pterosaurs and the later pterodactyloids. The monofenestridine pterosaurs are a large group of pterosaurs. Well, it consists of several groups, but they first evolved somewhere around 179 million years ago during the mid Jurassic and would end up going extinct along with other lineages of pterosaurs around 66 million years ago at the end of the Cretaceous period, as well as other pterodactyloids, or actually different pterodactyloid morphs, pterodactyl forms that were part of the monophonestrian lineage. But there's something else going on here with this species. Well, he is very unique just by his crest alone, little his tail. I mean, when it comes to different earlier species of pterosaurs, but you could also say mostly later forms, they did have relatively short tails. But I'd say it's more distinct with the Jurassic ones because many Jurassic as well as Triassic pterosaurs would have had much longer tails compared to their body size, unlike their later Cretaceous relatives. So this is actually quite unique. Let's see, life duration of two Scyphosaura bavarica. For 200 years, paleontologists split the pterosaurs into two major groups: the early non pterodactyloids and the later and much larger pterodactyloids. The early pterosaurs had short heads on short necks, a short bone in the wrist of the wing, a long fifth toe on the foot, and long tails. And the pterodactyloids had the opposite: large heads on necks, a long wrist, short fifth toe, and short tail. Yeah, that is an interesting um, evolution right there. But which parts of their body changed when between these groups was not known. In the 2010s, a series of intermediate species called Darwinopterans. So, this is actually a branch of the monophenestrin pterosaurs, were found that revealed that the head and neck had changed first before the rest of the body. I did not know about that. It was a great example of an intermediate that's bridged an evolutionary gap, but it also meant we did not really know what was going on before or after these changes. Scyphosaura bavarica sits between these earlier Darwinopterans and the pterodactyloids. It retains a very pterodactyloid like head and neck, but also shows a longer wrist and a shorter toe and tail than earlier Darwinopterans, but these are not as extreme as those seen in the pterodactyloids. Yes, this animal does have a very pterodactyloid neck. Now, let's look at some of the other animals from this time and area. So, this is specifically Ilodon, which is a member of the um, rhiphocephaloid lineage of crocodilomorphs. So this is not necessarily a true species of Metriorhynchid, but a different divergent lineage of crocodilomorphs. More specifically, a member of the Thylakosuchian lineage, and I believe even the Teleosaurids. And this animal, I believe, was somewhere around 5 to 8 feet in length. Was probably feeding on different species of fish because there are many marine deposits where this animal was from, and it coexisted with different species of late Jurassic pterosaurs as well. I believe even Archaeopteryx has been found in this specific area. And then we have a species of Metriorhynchid crocodilomorph called Cricosaurus. And Cricosaurus was a bit larger. This animal could reach somewhere around 10 feet in length or 3 meters. It was also focusing on smaller species of ammonites because certain ones at this point could reach the size of a tractor tire, and smaller species of fish, probably even going after small species of sharks. And then we have, oh, I believe this is another photo of the animal. The Metriorhynchids were a very distinct and unique lineage of crocodilomorphs. They first evolved somewhere around 183 million years ago, so shortly before the monophenestrin pterosaurs evolved, and would abruptly go extinct somewhere between 130, actually around 130 million years ago, which is quite interesting. Some species ended up going extinct around 145 million years ago, which is the late Jurassic and early Cretaceous boundary, and then others would still cling on for another 15 million years. Now, Giganosaurus, this is a member of the Giganosaurinae lineage of Metriorhynchids. It reached somewhere around 9 feet in length, or a little less than 3 meters, and had a bit of a much more robust skull compared to different members of the Metriorhynchid family. I'd say around 10 feet or 3 meters is about average for different species of Metriorhynchids. There have been certain individuals, like distant relatives of true Metriorhynchids, such as the Mamicosaurs, that possibly could reach a length of over 9 meters or 30 feet in length. And they were the monster sea crocodilomorphs of the ocean at that time. And then we have the little, specifically, who is this guy? Pleurosaurus, and sounds like some relative or some member of the plesiosaur family, but this is not related to that. And also, this is not necessarily close related to the crocodilomorphs or the plesiosaurs or pliosaurs in the region. This is actually more of a distant relative to the mesosaurs. And this animal was only around 5 feet in length, or around 1.5 meters, and was probably feeding on smaller species of fish in the ocean. And it is a member of the pleurosaur lineage. So let's see, where were we? This is an incredible find. It really helps us piece together how these amazing flying animals lived and evolved. Hopefully, this study will be the basis for more work in the future on this important evolutionary transition. Pterosaurs have long been symbols of the unique life of the past. Scyphosaura bavarica represents an important new form for working out pterosaur evolutionary relationships and, by extension, how this lineage arose and changed. And please remember to like, comment, subscribe if you love talking about animals. Now, let's get back into the news. A near complete but disarticulated specimen of Scyphosaura bavarica was found in 2015 in the Scottyberg quarry near Mulheim, Bavaria, Germany. The specimen is preserved in 3 dimensions where most pterosaurs tend to be crushed flat. In life, it would have been about 2 meters or 6.6 feet in wingspan. That's a decent size for pterosaurs during the late Jurassic. We have found very recently there was a discovery of I believe, 16-foot long wingspan of a certain species of pterosaur. That's immense for a Jurassic pterosaur. That's not bad for different early Cretaceous individuals, but for the late Jurassic, that is a record. But 6.6 feet, that's good. Okay, so similar to that of large birds like the golden eagle. I like how I put the specific species and then just put an eagle out there, since different species of eagle have different wingspans. I believe the bald eagle can reach a little over 8 feet. The specimen was disarticulated with bones of varying quality, often overlaid upon one another. Digital photography of the specimen taken in both visible and UV light significantly aided in the process to identify these elements and to better analyze finer details that were not discernible in normal daylight alone. The Launer Foundation is proud to have the opportunity to bring this important specimen to science and further the understanding of pterosaur evolution. Yeah, this Scyphosaura seems to have had quite a unique, just overall morphology compared to different species of pterosaurs, especially not just in Europe but throughout the world at this point of the Jurassic. In addition to showing the intermediate position of Scyphosaur bavarica, it also shows that a Scottish pterosaur species, dark, as fitting in the mirror position between the early pterosaurs and the first Darwinopterans. So this is really interesting to hear how it's fitting into that gap. In other words, we now have a complete sequence of evolution from early pterosaurs to dark to the first Darwinopterans to Scyphosaura to the pterodactyloids. While not every specimen is complete, we can now trace the increase in size of the head and neck, the elongating wrist, shrinking toe and tail, and other features step by step across multiple groups. Well, it also sounds like, because it's not giving us a picture of the fossil, unfortunately, but it sounds like much of the fossil has been preserved, which is probably how we're able to obtain so much information about this animal. And with that, more information about the family, actually, the different families of these pterosaurs themselves. It's a superb illustration of the evolution of a group for which the transition has been far from clear before. Both Dark and Scyphosaura are unusually large for their time, also suggesting that the changes that enabled the pterodactyloids to reach enormous sizes were appearing even in these transitional species. I think this is around 149 million years ago. The different species of um, certain crocodilomorphs in the sea that I mentioned, certain species lived a bit earlier in time, and then you would have certain metriorhynchids that would arrive later. But now you did have it, for instance, with this individual. Its lineage ranges back over 240 million years back to the early Triassic, whereas most of these other, I mean, these are distant relatives. He, I believe, is like a member of Reptiliae. So I think he's more closely related to a certain species of lizard that exists today. Uh, who is that guy? It's not hitting me. But these specific animals, they would die out like around 130, 240 million years ago. But back to the pterosaurs, this is just simply really good to hear about the different characteristics that these animals have. Um, Especially also large sizes at this point. So let me know in the comments what your favorite species of Jurassic sea crocodile or pterosaur is in the comments. And from prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guide Live Daily News. Remember to like, comment, subscribe if you love talking about animals, and share this show with everyone you know, because nothing is better than all animals all the time.